Good morning, everyone. Leslie Ann joining you right here at WZOZ 103. And in the studio with me, Dr. Carol Mikoda, who has been an educator for her entire career. Is that correct? Like over 23 years.
Yes.
You taught in the middle, a number of different age groups.
From grade 7 to 12 and community college and university.
And then you moved onward to the college level.
Yes, I left my 8th grade classroom in 2009 to get a doctorate, and I was teaching at Binghamton University, at Broome Community College, at SUNY Cortland, at SUNY Oneonta.
So you are here to actually talk a little bit about the Board of Regents, because you would like to be appointed on the Board of Regents. Now,
That's right.
People may have heard of this body, this group of people, but may not know what they actually do here in the state of New York. Why don't you let people know what they do?
Well, we have 17 people who meet as the Board of Regents, and it turns out, and maybe not even educators know this, it turns out that they set the policies that govern our schools. They hire our commissioner, who is John King just now, and tell him what's to be done in the education department. Those 17 people meet every month through the year. The education department then tells local districts in New York State what to teach, how to assess it, when to assess it, how to evaluate their teachers.
So it's safe to say they obviously came up with the whole Common Core plan that is now implemented. It comes from the top.
From the Board of Regents. Common Core is being introduced across the nation. Many states have decided to become part of the Common Core or to use the Common Core because when President Obama put Arne Duncan in charge of our Department of Education, the federal monies became available. Federal monies become available through Race to the Top only if you adopt Common Core. And New York is one that adopted it and wanted to get it going very quickly, and therein lies the problem.
Right. Now, obviously, they're looking at the benefit of the money coming from the federal government. You know, we all know that New York is a struggling state financially, so it kind of makes sense that they would try to put that into play immediately.
Yes, they needed that money badly. We were vulnerable, no question. Unfortunately, putting into place the policies that Race to the Top requires costs more than the money that we got from Race to the Top.
That's an issue, isn't it?
Yes, and I know that our Board of Regents have to think about that.
Now, how do people, there's been obviously a lot of talk about Common Core and state testing this year as parents have started experiencing their children coming home and talking about school and all of the issues going on, because it's certainly been a very large change in the curriculum. And there have been a lot of groups of parents getting together and talking with legislators. There have been several forums here in Oneonta to educate people about what's happening in schools so that they can be informed. What do you recommend what are you seeing are the biggest issues?
Well, I think it's problematic because New York State did choose to roll it out very quickly. Teachers were not prepared. Obviously, students were not ready. It was brought out rather quickly. New York wanted to be at the forefront. Unfortunately, that meant that teachers were not prepared to teach the material that was on the tests. The tests were given anyway. Children did badly. That's very upsetting. And imagine if a child is nervous about tests anyway.
Oh, sure.
And teacher evaluations are now dependent in some part on the test results. And that created anxiety and difficulty. In addition, parents are seeing children come home frustrated in other ways, upset with school in other ways, and that's certainly upsetting to parents. as a teacher, I saw, even before Race to the Top, an increase in testing since about 1998. And at first, there were some very good effects from the testing that came in. Teachers talked to each other more often about their subject and ways to teach it, and that was the beginning of a great conversation. But as the testing increased with NCLB, it started to be more about the scores and less about learning. And when it's more about the numbers, that's a problem. It's not about learning, and students don't want to be there. Teachers don't want to teach if it's just about test prep.
Sure. What do you recommend for parents who want to have a say in how things are happening in schools? What is the best course for them to take to have an impact on legislative decisions involving education?
Well, on the local level, they can opt their child out of the tests. And there are very good directions offered by Facebook groups about opting out. You can just Google opt out. The other thing they can do is contact their legislators, their senators, their assembly members, and tell them what they're seeing in their own school with their own children, and ask them for a moratorium or for more attention given to this question, because those legislators have a chance to change the composition of the Board of Regents very soon. Right now, the Board of Regents is composed of a handful of educators who have been in schools recently in classrooms, and others who are not educators, and yet they set education policy. They also control certification for teachers. They control other certifications as well, but education policy is a huge part of their job, and it's definitely affecting parents. So talk to your legislators. Let them know how you feel, so that when they have a chance to vote on March 11th about who will be appointed to the Board of Regents, they can choose experienced educators.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carol Mikoda, for joining us and filling us in on the Board of Regents. I certainly know that I know more now than I did before.